Hey, you. Good morning. You well? It's just after 10 o'clock. It's Friday, the 12th of July, 2019, and I feel a bit better than I did yesterday morning. That was a surreal experience, that, wasn't it? I watched it back yesterday because a number of people said to me, "You were almost delirious, Richie. You were so knackered yesterday morning." And I was. And I watched it back and it made me laugh. But I'm feeling a lot better this morning. And in good form. I'm in good form. I'm looking forward to the weekend now. And I'm glad to be here talking with you. Thanks for joining me on this YouTube live stream, which tickles me. It tickles me, by the way, to do this every day. And going to talk a little bit about Stephen Yaxley Lennon very briefly in a minute. Not so much about him, but about you. And your obstinance. And your... Yeah, obstinance is a good word, really. And you being obtuse. Of course, I'm saying the royal you, and it might not be you. They teach us, you see, when we are taught how to broadcast, they teach us to say you in the singular, because I'm speaking to you, one person. I'm talking to one person. Doesn't matter if there are 100 people watching or 5. I'm talking to you. So look, I know it's not you as in all of you, but some of you are willfully being obtuse in your refusal to understand who this guy really is and what he represents, because you have become conditioned into needing to be told what you want to hear. Now, it doesn't matter if what you want to hear is true. That doesn't matter. That's irrelevant. That migration has been problematic in the UK and in Ireland and beyond. We know it has. We've talked about it. We understand why it has happened and what the reasoning is behind it and what the motivation is behind it. We know. You'd be a fool as a journalist, as a presenter, as a broadcaster to say that migration, unfettered migration, hasn't been very problematic. And as I've said before, it's working class communities, and I'm a working class boy, big baldy, working class lad. Working class communities were disproportionately affected by the rise in immigration. And immigration comes in many forms. It comes in migrants coming from war-torn countries, refugees. It comes in the form of countries joining the European Union and their citizens coming over here to find work because the work might be better paid. I'm well aware of all this. But I'm very disappointed that because this guy has talked about immigration and has talked about grooming gangs and stuff like that, that you hear that, you want to hear it, you need to be told it, and you ignore who he is, where he came from, who funded him, and the numerous vicious, horrible crimes that this piece of fucking shit has committed during the course of his life. That's not good. What's wrong with you, is what I'm saying. Anyway, before we get into a little bit of that, maybe I've done it now, maybe I've had enough now. I want to say hi to Nathan and Dave. How do I do this? From the Sex Pistols Experience. Love the Sex Pistols Experience. Love Nathan and Dave. And they're big champions of the Richie Allen radio show. They're always talking about it wherever they go. And met them when David Icke was in Manchester at the Apollo. I just want to say hi to Nathan and Dave from the Sex Pistols Experience. Proper legends, the two boys. So look, you're not going to want to hear this because of where it comes from, the BBC, but there is a fantastic article on bbc.co.uk/news today, written by Dominic Cassiani, about Tommy Robinson, who he is, who he was, who he purports to be now, and who has funded him. Trigger yourself, go and read it. Okay? I mean, the notion that that animal is a journalist is laughable. The guy was outside Leeds Crown Court talking about going around to the houses of the men that were on trial there. Talking about going around their houses. Urging people to do the same. Complaining about God knows what while justice was being served up to the men inside the court. I mean, come on, people. Come on. Lose the cognitive dissonance, It's not a fucking game. It's not about winning and losing. You have some fucking courage. At least once a month I put my hands up and say I got this totally wrong. You know, do the same. Right? 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 Vermin, scum, thug, animal. That's all. No more, no less. A very wealthy one. Rebel Media paying him £10,000 a month to talk bollocks about grooming gangs. Oh, he never exposed anything. He's exploited those who exposed it. That's all he's ever done. Piggybacked on it. You see him all over the Truther Industrial Complex. I've mentioned him before. Crane, Garish, Bealey. You know what these people are? Exploit. Make a name for themselves. But never do anything. Never exposed or uncovered anything. Alright? Don't ever forget that. Anyway, he's in prison. Am I happy about him being in prison? Am I gloating about it? No, I'm not. I don't think. I wouldn't have put him in prison yesterday. I would have read him the Riot Act yesterday. And said, next time, pal, next time your ugly fucking face is seen on the steps of a courthouse while justice is being served, while millions of pounds of justice is being served to guys who have raped children. Next time we see you with your camera and your moronic, ugly, disgusting supporters who spit at people and threaten them. Next time we see you, 5 years, pal. That's what I would have said yesterday. You fucking nobody, you no-mark, pretend journalist. Does me brains in. Right, quick roll call. This video won't be monetised either. Hi to Dean, hi to Liz, hi to Omega 3 Rat, hi to Jesus Jones, to Andy Jerry, to S-Box, to Ghost Gaming. Let me go on down the list there. Welcome to this live chat for Jam Lions. To Kevin Hansen, how you doing, Kevin? To Jack Woolley. Let's go on down. Wendy Bella, how you doing, Wendy? William, to Jennifer Garcia, good morning, Jennifer. Jason in New Zealand. And Joe Public, good morning, Joe. John and Sarah, how you doing, John and Sarah? Hi to Dirk Kite's not really him. Hi to Dunk, hi to Alien Creation, to Michael Kelly, to Irkbeat, to Pro Rebel Separatist, to Stuart Minard, how you doing, Stuart? And to Paul Birchall, how you doing, Paul? To Dominic Barnes, how you doing, Dominic? It's me Hall Kelly, by the way, not Michael. Good morning, me Hall. To Philip Blair, let's go on down the list there. To Richard Murray, wonderful stuff. Peter Riley. Tommy's exposed a lot of problems. Has he, Peter? No, he hasn't, Peter. Give me an example. Show me what he's exposed. He's not exposed anything. Going on to Facebook or to YouTube and ranting about something isn't exposing it. Okay? The MP, one or two MPs, the social workers, the girls, the whistleblowers, they exposed Rotherham and Rochdale. Arsehole Robinson just exploited it. Took it on and claimed it as his own. And too many stupid people believed it because they wanted to hear it, because they hated Muslims. They hated Muslims. They need to be constantly told that Muslims are the reason for their problems, when nothing could be further from the truth. They want to hear that every day. Robinson serves it up with chips, vinegar and gravy. He serves it up with gravy. And people love it and they buy into it. And when you confront these people with that truth, because they've got nowhere to go, because they've got no ground to stand on, they accuse people like me of, they're trying to cover it up. No, I was talking about paedophilia in every community before anybody ever heard of Tommy Robinson. David Icke's been exposing it for 25, 30 years in every community. He's not exposed anything, he's just ranted about it. There's a difference, as I'm ranting now. I haven't exposed Tommy Robinson. You see what I'm saying? Is it dawning on you now? I haven't exposed him. I'm ranting about him. He exposed himself. And he's Israeli backers. Okay? That's what it is here. People desperately need to be told what they think is true. They know deep down that Muslims are not the reason why their lives are shit. Jews are not the reason why their lives are shit. Neither are Christians, Catholics, Sikhs, Outer Mongolians, Outer Hebrideans. No, it's a much deeper, a much more subtle conspiracy. It's got nothing to do with any individual group or culture or religion. Lazy people need to be told it's the Muslims. It's the Muslims. Well, how did they get here? How did Syrian people end up in England and in France and Greece? Could it be that the Islamic jihadists, a tiny, tiny, tiny minority among worldwide Muslims. Could it be that they were funded, armed and trained by Western intelligence agencies to wreck Syria maybe? Could it be? Okay, well then deal with it then. Deal with the fact that you've got a massive influx of refugees in southern Europe. Deal with it. Deal with it. No, you don't want to do that. You just want to blame the Muslims. You don't want to look at causation. Causation is irrelevant to you. So stick with Tommy the Tit Thug Robinson and let real intellectuals and people who really want to analyse geopolitics and why these things are happening, let us get on with it. And fuck off back to Tommy Robinson. Okay? Okay. Moron. Going on Alex Jones, begging for asylum in America. Martyr. I'm a martyr. Free speech. I'm a journalist. Give me a break. Moron. The irony, while these people were being found guilty in a court of law because of millions of pounds worth of money being spent on it through the process, this guy's out there saying, we can't have it in our country, we can't have it. Shut up, you little bastard. I almost am happy he's in prison, but I'm not really. I'm no hypocrite. Anyway, that'll wake you up, won't it? Chubby. Do you see supporters spitting on people? I mean, show me your mates and I'll show you who you are, you know what I mean? My friends don't go around spitting at people and threatening them. They don't. You know, you can call me what you want and there are people who watch me and they fucking hate me and that's okay. Keep watching. Fair enough, like. But my mates are a measure of who I really am. The woman I live with is a measure of the man I really am. Fucking scumbags outside the court screaming and threatening journalists. Come on, you know. I don't care how bad those journalists are, and I don't care how bad the organisations they work for are. Don't spit at them. Threaten them. Threaten their families. Don't do it. All right? And say that you're a civil person, that you belong in civil society. You don't. You belong in prison. It's as simple as that. Animals, these people. That's all they are. Fascists. I'm going to start sounding like Owen Jones now. But you don't hear me calling people fascists very often. But they are fascists. Anyway, I want to say good morning to Ruth in Australia. I love Ruth. I love you, Ruth. You know that. But you're wrong about Chummy. I love Ruth. Great supporter of the programme and a good pal. Sends me interesting stuff on Facebook. Not on Facebook, on Twitter. Thank you, Ruth. Shall we have a look at the papers? A couple of really big stories. I'm going to talk about the Panorama documentary the other night because some very interesting information has come to light about one or two of the participants. It's beyond very interesting. It is not shocking to me because I've been around the block a million times, but it should shock some of you. We'll talk about that in a second. Should I lead with that? No, let's go to the front pages of the papers. Let's do the papers first. Chubby. You what, Chubby? Inmates to be handed cell keys. Brilliant. It's like an episode of The Simpsons, isn't it? What's the guy's name in The Simpsons who is always in prison? The guy who says dude all the time. Does he have a name or is he just the guy that's in prison? I can't remember. Inmates to be handed cell keys according to the Times. I'm not even going to get into that. All eyes on England as they reach historic final. England absolutely slaughtered Australia yesterday afternoon in the semi-final of the World Cup at Edgbaston. I was watching some of it and I was chuffed. Go on, England. They play New Zealand in the final on Sunday. Jason Williamson, you're in New Zealand. Jason, you gonna be up in the small hours watching that? I think you probably will be, mate. Good stuff. Hope it's a good final. Hope it's a better final than the semi-final was. Financial Times, France and UK face showdown with US over tech tax plans. What does that mean? Well, apparently the United States is not happy and Donald Trump has ordered an investigation into plans that the French have to tax Facebook and Twitter, Google and all the rest of it. Now, what the French Parliament have said is they want to put a 3% levy on revenue made by Google and Facebook, revenue made by them inside France. Sounds reasonable to me. What about you, dear viewer? Bastards don't pay very much, do they? By the time they started paying, right? None of us should be paying tax, let's be honest about it. I've gotten into that on my programme before as well. Nobody needs to pay any tax. But anyway, if we are going to pay tax, they should pay tax. But Donald Trump is not happy about it. If you want to read about that yourself and find out more about it, all of the newspapers run with that story today, and you can read some of it for free online. All right. That's the Financial Times. Okay, let's get rid of that then. What's in the Guardian today? The leftist Guardian. Commies. What's in the Guardian? I wish they were. They're not. The Guardian. Dozens more will testify over Labour anti-Semitism. Going to talk about that in a minute. Academy status forced on 300 primary schools. This is the privatisation of education in England. Isn't it wonderful? And it's happening while people are asleep and blind to it. Martin says, cricket is like watching paint dry for me. Give over, Martin. Give over. It's a great sport. Hi to Sutty's Rehab. Hi to Randy Garcia. How you doing, Randy? Good man. Bloomin' Artie. Good morning. John Jones. Good morning, John. Rasputin's Ghost. Mercy and Golden Age. The 51 Project. Free Palestine. Marvellous. One or two of you. Good morning, Richard Willett. How you doing, Rich? Richard, the documentary filmmaker, the excellent podcast host. He was on the programme the other night talking about extreme hypnosis. New film that's coming out in September. Check it out. How you doing, Richard? Really enjoyed you on the programme the other night, mate. And Richard is also making a film with Maggie Oliver at the moment, the ex-detective. Great lady, was on the programme a couple of years ago. I'm going to invite Maggie back on. She's got a book out. I'm going to invite her on next week and we'll promote the bejesus out of what Richard Willett is doing, because he's doing some good stuff, this lad. Check him out. Hope that doesn't sound patronising, by the way. It's not meant to be. The guy's really good. And he was brilliant on the programme the other day. Richard Willett, thanks. Richard Murray says, cricket is the devil's sport. Do you know how mischievous I am? Somebody said yesterday, Richie's very immature. Of course I'm immature. I'm an absolute child. I saw it last night that I'm going to do a YouTube live stream next week, and I'm going to start doing all the symbology for the crack, like. I was going to start doing stuff like this, you know. Yeah. Tommy is really a thug. Yeah, he is. He really is. I was going to do all this stuff. And then I thought, no, because some of my listeners won't see that as a gag. They'll that's it. He's a Freemason. Even that I made a joke about it now, they'll still think, maybe he's triple bluffing us. Maybe I am. Right. I better stop, right? Okay. Jesus. Anyway, I'm a child. Don't ever take me seriously. Absolute child. There's more maturity in a 5-minute-old baby than me. The Daily Telegraph, Hunt, Iran crisis shows we must boost the Navy. Well, there's the answer right there, isn't it? You know? The military wants more money. The military-industrial complex, the corporations which benefit when we boost the military, just make up a crisis. Start telling lies about the Iranians. The Iranian Navy, dangerous. We can't use the Straits of Hormuz. The Iranians, they're terrible, aren't they? Leaving their little bombs on the sides of our ships. Make up all this stuff, and then you get a big military spending boost. Problem, reaction, solution. There'll be murders. Oh, Jesus. Yeah. If I told you I was, when we were in Spain, when Caroline had her bar in Spain, there was a lovely man who used to come into the bar, Alan. And Alan was a member of a Masonic lodge in Nottingham. And lovely fella, Alan. And he gave me a keyring. And he said, but don't let anybody know that you've got the keyring because you're not in the Masons. I was like, all right. I don't have it anymore. But he said, if you ever work in the UK, he said, I'll recommend you for membership. But I didn't take him up on it. Or maybe I did. I'm making a rod from my own back now. People will say, that's it. We knew it all along about Alan. Victory! Front page of The Sun. Boris backs veterans campaign. Victory. He vows to stop the witch hunt. This is about officers and soldiers being investigated and being charged for something they might have done in Afghanistan, in Iraq, or in Libya, or wherever. Listen, if you are in breach of or in contravention of the Geneva Convention, I believe you have to answer for it. But what I don't want to see is young men and young women, soldiers, grunts, taking the fucking flak while the officers who drink champagne and eat caviar while children and men and women are being blown to fucking pieces while the officers get away with it. Okay? Do you remember Lindy England in Abu Ghraib? Do you remember that? Oh, we all hated Lindy, didn't we? Lindy, because she was holding the prisoner on the leash. Yeah, it was fucking terrible. It was disgusting. But most of us were too stupid to think, well, she's only a grunt, like. What about the people in charge of her? Yeah, what about the people in charge? Yeah, is what I say. Is what I say. And I'm always right, you know. You know it. Don't argue with me. What a child. Well, I mean, this is some story, this. It's in the Mail. I'm not going to dwell on it. It's sickening. And it says a lot about sentencing in this country. This woman is absolutely vile. I'm not even going to get into it. Absolutely disgusting paedophile. But, yeah, I know. I hear you. These are the cases that make the news. What about the likes of Greville Janner? Old Greville Janner is dead now. But we said it about him when he was alive. I had the courage when he was alive to say what he was, Greville Janner. A dirty, rotten, filthy, disgusting fucking paedophile. A rotten bastard. And there were more of him. Plenty more of him. Some of his colleagues. And we never hear about them, do we? But she was vile, that woman. And she's going to be out. Again, in the Navy, this is a military-industrial complex-driven story. We need more money. We need more ships. We need more men and women. It's about more than military spending. I know that. It's also about the US-UK hegemony. It's about doing what Israel wants. I know that. Blaming the Jews again, are you, Richie? No, I'm not. Blaming Israel. Israel's got nothing to do with Jews or Judaism. House of Horrors. Few newspapers going with the story today about this report that suggests that bullying and intimidation of staffers at all levels is rife in the House of Lords and in the House of Parliament, in both houses. Is it? I don't know. Be easy for me to say, yeah, it is, but I don't know. Never been there. Would you believe that? I've never been there. Never gone. I passed it, obviously, when I was in London, but never decided to pop in and watch in the public gallery. Same story in the Express. Damning inquiry slams MPs bullying. And that's the worst waxwork of all time, that, isn't it? Is that in Madame Tussauds? Their standards have dropped pretty badly. Look at the state of that. Claudia Winkleman, the BBC presenter, and her waxwork. I mean, that's rubbish, that, isn't it? That's as bad as the Cristiano Ronaldo bust. Do you remember that? Jesus. Rubbish. What's in the Star? Annie Fink. Gaza exclusive. Hack of the net. Mum's agony as a perv sends sexts from footy ace's phone. What a story that is. I've not even read that. No idea. This woman ended up getting... Is that the woman, like? All right, okay. Yeah, I didn't read the story. Is that her? No, or is it... No, that's not the mum. No, that's the model, is it? Anyway, who cares? Tabloid story. They won't leave poor Gaza alone, eh? Great footballer. And he's a man who struggles with addiction. And I'm going to name drop now. The very night that Caroline opened her bar in Spain, we were joined on the night by Chris Waddle, by Glenn Hoddle, by Paul McGrath, believe it or not, and by Gaza. Paul McGrath was off the drink at the time. Chris Waddle didn't drink very much. Gaza had a lot to drink, God love him. But he was very nice. He was very nice to everybody. He wasn't a bad guy to deal with at all. Chris Waddle was taking good care of him, it must be said. Paul McGrath was off the drink and Paul was in good form. But I felt very sorry for Gaza. I felt really sorry for him. I barely got to speak to him, really, just to say hello, how you doing, and thanks for coming into the bar. They were playing golf, you see, and the lads who organised the golf tournament they used the bar a lot, so they brought him in basically. And what we had done was got some food in, and they were nice guys, but poor old Gaza. Some people just can't get off it. Some people just cannot. I mean, as an Irishman, you know, it's a lot of cliches about Irish people and drink and that, you know, and most Irish families will have within the family somebody who just can't handle their drink and who drinks too much. I mean, it's everywhere in Ireland. Everything we do, drink is everywhere. Christening, drink. Somebody got promoted a job, drink. Somebody's child turns 4, drink. That's what we do. But poor old Gaza. Going to go back to the comments. Then we're going to talk about it's not a documentary, the reporting of Panorama on anti-Semitism. Richard says Sue Perkins is probably the most untalented individual that's been on the BBC's payroll. Look, I've said this before. Doing a piece to camera or reading to camera is not difficult. And doing it in a laid-back way is not difficult. It isn't difficult. People say to me, and they do say to me all the time, Richie, are these presenters on the BBC, are they worth the incredible amounts of money they get paid? And the simple answer is no, they're not. Is Gary Lineker worth £1.75 million for saying, welcome to Match of the Day? Welcome to the show. Tonight we've got Liverpool and Leicester. After that we've got Southampton and Spurs. And joining me in the studio to talk about that is Danny Murphy and Robbie Savage. Evening, lads. How you doing? Yeah. First of all, we're off to Bramall Lane or we're off to Anfield. Your commentator is John Motson. That's it, guys. That's it, Right. That is it. Well, that was an interesting game. A lot to talk about, lads. Danny, your thoughts there? Not the best defending in the world. £1.75 million. We say money for old rope. And when we say money for old rope, we are right. Thanks to Danny Warden. Richie, you're looking gorgeous. I'm looking gorgeous, Danny. Thank you. I'm gorgeous every day. I'm beautiful. In my mind, anyway. Charlotte Binns is talking to somebody on there. How you doing, Charlotte? Good stuff. Yeah. Somebody else says Claudia is not talented. I don't know. They might be. Thanks to James Ward. Thanks, James, for your super chat donation. Cheers, mate. Good stuff there. I think there might have been another one, but I can't see it now. Thank you. To Swampy McGee. How you doing, Swampy McGee? Right. Hi to David Stevenson. Thank you, David. I'm getting into that now. I'm getting into that right now. The crappiest live stream in the world ever. Okay. This is a tweet, one of many tweets that I came across yesterday, because although the Richie Allen radio show wasn't on yesterday for a very good reason, which I mentioned yesterday, I wasn't idly sitting around twiddling my thumbs. I was working on the programme and on next week's programmes and all the rest of it. But yeah, I came across some interesting tweets. Now, on Wednesday, Panorama broadcast a programme which reported on allegations that Labour was just not dealing with anti-Semitism. And that some of the young staffers working in, it's not called compliance, but working in complaints or whatever you want to call it, people that were supposed to be dealing with anti-Semitism, they were dealing with obfuscation from the very top. And the programme featured 8 people specifically, 8, right, who said that it was terrible, that there was just massive amounts of anti-Semitism to deal with, massive amounts of it, and there was so much of it to deal with, we just couldn't deal with it because it started to be on the increase when Jeremy Corbyn became the party leader, and all of a sudden incidents of anti-Semitism were massive, and 8 particular staffers no longer with Labour, who'd left Labour, said that they were bullied and they were name-called and they were, like I said, they faced increasing blowback from the very top. Increasingly, they couldn't do their jobs because at the very top they didn't really want to investigate anti-Semitism. Okay, I know I haven't given a synopsis. That's a bad synopsis. But I might be certainly in brighter form this morning, but I am still a bit muddled. I am a bit tired. But that's basically it. And some of these people said they were bullied and they were called effing Jews and effing this and effing that. And some of them said they were laughed at by Seamus Milne, the communications director of Labour, used to work for The Guardian, and all of that. My big problem with the programme was that the guy Mayer, is it John Mayer or Richard Mayer, is it Mayer, who presented it, he didn't do his job when he interviewed these people because he didn't challenge them. He didn't ask them for any evidence, any hard evidence. You were verbally abused, were you? Any evidence to support that? Or is it just hearsay? is it just conjecture? But it gets worse. It gets worse. Because when I saw this yesterday, I saw a number of tweets yesterday, and the tweets alleged that a couple of these people, particularly the young man with the Rick Astley hairdo from the 1980s, look, I know. Give me my moment here. Let me take the piss out of somebody with more hair than me just once. I'd rather be bald than have that haircut, to be honest. This guy happened to appear in an expose of Zionist influence in UK politics. That expose, one of the best bits of journalism in the last 10 years, was Al Jazeera and a program called The Lobby, which showed how the Israeli embassy in London, staffers working within it like Shai Massot, were meeting up with people like Joan Ryan of the Labour Party and offering them money to bring down anti-Zionists in the Labour movement. It was a marvellous bit of filmmaking. When it was broadcast, the Richie Allen radio show, my show, went to town on it. Again, I didn't expose anything. You could say, like everybody else, we amplified it. The journalism was wonderful. Wouldn't you believe it? This guy who found himself working for the Labour Party, dealing with anti-Semitism allegations, was actually on camera with Joan Ryan when this conspiracy, this real-life conspiracy, was unfolding. You just couldn't make it up, could you? Now, what does that mean? Well, I cannot over-sensationalise this. That means that the BBC knowingly put people on the fucking air. People who with connections to the Israeli embassy. People who were present when an Israeli embassy official was offering bribes to a Jewish Labour MP to bring down critics of Israel in the opposition to Her Majesty's government. Will I say it? I thought about, will I say it? Will I say it? Maybe I can say it. Maybe I can, because ultimately you don't have to do what I tell you. I don't tell you what to do anyway. But don't pay for your fucking licence. I mean, come on. Do you pay for a BBC television licence? Come on. I mean, really? This is it, like. This is it laid bare. This is what they do. We saw them do it to Tommy Robinson. And yes, I criticised it then too. No hypocrite have I ever been. When John Sweeney tried to stitch up Robinson. Rotten. Wretched. There's no need to do it. You don't need to stitch up Robinson. Let him stitch himself up. But this is what they do. Electronic intifada is all over this. But of course the Guardian and the Telegraph and the Daily Mail don't want to know. Neither does Jeremy Corbyn, funnily enough. Think about that one. Why isn't Jeremy Corbyn screaming from the rooftops this morning? That's a bit of a head scratcher, isn't it? Isn't it? Think about it. Go on. It'll register. Right? Right. BBC's anti-Corbyn hatchet job fails to land blow. This is very good. Asa Winstanley in Electronic Intifada. I think this was published yesterday, came out yesterday. And it's excellent. Go to Electronic Intifada online. Read this story. It's outstanding. Right? Here we go. Alex Richardson, a member of the Jewish Labour Movement executive, was on the BBC whinging about racism, anti-Semitism, not being able to deal with it, obfuscation. And he was part of the expose. And he was also exposed for fabricating an instance of anti-Semitism. Joan Ryan is not a Labour MP anymore, of course. I should correct myself. Ryan was exposed herself for fabricating anti-Semitism. This guy was hanging around. And now he's on Panorama. The BBC neglects to tell you who he is. Conflict of interest. Axe to grind. It is wretched. It It should be investigated by the Official Communications Act. We call it Ofcom. Everybody associated with the Panorama report on Wednesday should be suspended by the BBC immediately pending an investigation. It's horrific. But I'm not surprised by it. This is what happens. I spent 20 minutes on the phone yesterday with a producer who is going to be producing David Baddiel's investigation into anti-Semitism, which will be on the BBC Two in January. She was doing everything she could yesterday to sell the idea of me being interviewed by David Baddiel. Now, I didn't know this yesterday. When I was speaking to her yesterday morning after I did the live stream, I would have hammered her. But not hammered her because it's not her fault. But I did ask her, had she seen the Hatchet Job anyway? And I said, how is that journalism? I said, you want me to believe that David Baddiel is going to take an objective look at why people vociferously criticise the state of Israel, why people talk about Zionist influence in UK politics, and why people talk about the exploitation of the Holocaust. And you want me to believe that it's going to be done properly on the BBC. Honest to God, like. You really want me to believe? You think I was born yesterday? A man who's produced and presented thousands of programmes. This is outrageous. But I promise you, and I hope I'm wrong, not a single broadsheet or tabloid newspaper in this country will touch it. They will not touch it. Right? I haven't forgotten. I can hear you. There's telepathy going on. I can hear you. I haven't forgotten about the part the BBC played in the fake chemical attack in Syria that was blamed on the Syrian government. No, I know all about that as well, as you do. This is the BBC. Pay for that. Give them £150 a year for that. No, thank you. It's garbage. Garbage. Turn up to a hotel in Manchester later this month, naked and unarmed, and sit down in front of a BBC camera crew with David Baddiel. Fuck no. Are you stupid? Right. I'll talk to you all day long, and you can come on my radio show. But if I come and meet you in a hotel, I'm bringing a camera crew with me, and they'll film every bit of it. So that afterwards, and I did assure the very nice young woman, it must be said, that I spoke to yesterday, very nice young woman called Alice. We'll do it, Alice, but we're filming it, and we'll put it out after you put yours out. You know, I believe in ethical reporting standards, ethical journalism. I won't gazump you and put it out before yours goes out, but I'll just keep it in storage. And after the hatchet job you do on me then, when you try and present me to be some sort of fucking hate monger, which you will inevitably do, we'll put out the entire segment, because I have a lot of questions for David Baddiel. And I like David Baddiel, by the way. Again, I do. If I didn't, I wouldn't say it. I'm under no illusion that he's from the Rachel Riley school of approaching the whole anti-Semitism thing. They see it on every street corner, don't they? They swear at people. I mean, I swear at people. Look, I'm not going to... people who live in glass houses shouldn't throw stones. But they see it on every street corner. It's everywhere. It isn't everywhere. It's a nonsense. So what if people think that there are no gas chambers? Who cares? They're in the minority anyway, right? Just ignore them. Or debate them. That's what you do. I've had them on. Never happened, Richie. I don't agree with you. Did anybody die? Did anybody keel over from offence? No. As an identity group, as a culture, Jews are doing all right. They're doing all right for themselves, Jews. Right? So, some guy goes on No More News with Adam Green or goes on Red Ice and says, it never happened. I don't see Jews getting attacked or falling down dead of offence and embarrassment. Just ignore them. Ignore them. Because ultimately, whatever their opinion is, they are human beings as well. And they are entitled to think what they want to fucking think. And you are entitled to think it's heinous. But that's where you part company. It's heinous. All right, fair enough. What do you want to do about it? Lock up. No. You can't do that. That's thought policing. They're always going to think what they think. Let them get on with it. That's what I say. Let them get on with it. 20 to 11. Any more comments there? Marvellous. Hi to Tony Maudsley. How you doing, Tony? Hi to Random Mental. Now, always beware of random mentals. Do you remember Jasper Carrott years ago? That wonderful routine he did about the nutter. Do you remember? Google Jasper Carrott and the nutter. It's a lovely routine where he talks about how he inevitably, when he gets on public transport, ends up with the nutter sitting alongside him. Very good. Jasper Carrott. Trailer Trash. How you doing, Trailer Trash? Lovely. Bloomin' Artie. I mentioned him already. Mark Hillier. How you doing, Mark? Some great stuff in the papers in the last day or two. What have we got? What have we got for you? I tweeted this out yesterday. And somebody quite rightly said to me, Richie, you're kind of implying a double standard now. You know, sexism. And I said, yeah, okay, you can accuse me of that. I don't mind. But I laughed. Do you know, I laughed really hard at this. And then I was a bit sad. But I'm going to share this with you. A 68-year-old woman has been ordered to sign the sex offenders register after grabbing the crotch of a paramedic who was treating her for a fall and then saying, how big is it? So this poor lady, who might not be well now, and that's why I was a bit sad for laughing yesterday, but sometimes you can't not laugh. She'd fallen over, God love her, and somebody called 999. And along came the paramedics, and while she was being treated, she copped a bit of a feel. I got accused of double standards yesterday. You know, if a bloke did it, look, I'm well aware of it. But come on, you know. Did he have to call the police? Jesus Christ. Can you not deal with that? I knew a lady once who worked in an old people's home. She said that the old men were always, she said because the Alzheimer's, the dementia or senility, the men were always trying to grab a bit of a feel, grabbing a bit of arse. And she said, I just slapped them away, told them to behave themselves. And but this poor woman, who might have a memory loss issue, grabbed a hold of the guy's crotch and said, how big is it? Does she really have to sign the sex offenders register? For fuck's sake, you know? The bit that made me laugh out loud, and belly laughs, you know that belly laughs when you just cannot stop and the tears are spilling down your face, was when I read this bit here. The paramedic, who cannot be named, pushed her hand away, but she then tried to stroke his chest before telling him to fuck off. Oh, fan Dabby Dozy. She's from Flixton in Greater Manchester. And one of the reasons I was sad then, afterwards, when I reflected on it, was, does she deserve to be in the national newspapers? I know you might say, well, you're amplifying it now, Richie. Well, not really. I mean, it's in the fucking Daily Mail. It's the most widely read tabloid in the country. It's in the Daily Mail. I just thought, come on, there's a better way of dealing with that, you know. But I laughed, and then I cried, and then I laughed again, and then I sighed. I thought it was the sex offenders register. Jesus Christ. Could the guy not deal with that, you know? Come on. Maybe paramedics have to put up with a lot. I don't know. Old Jug Ears is really worried about the environment. That's supposed to be news. Jug Ears has been banging on about the environment for most of his fucking adult life, hasn't he? And he reckons, his expert opinion is now, by the way, that we've only got 18 months to deal with it. Or we're fooked. We're gone. Oh, for fuck's sake. Jimmy Savile's best friend. Here he is. Yeah. He was speaking at a reception for the Commonwealth Heads of Government Conference. We've got 18 months, he said. Yeah. What else is there? The travellers, that's the travelling community. Some people call them gypsies. In Ireland, they use a derogatory term to describe them, which they shouldn't use, but they call them knackers. And travelling people don't like being called knackers. I've never called a traveller a knacker because I'm scared of him. There's a Tommy Tiernan, the comedian. Didn't he do a sketch about being scared of the travellers? I'm a bit scared of him. No, one of the things I used to do, I'm going to do a bit of virtue signalling now. When I was on the radio in Waterford, when I was on the radio, I used to bring the travellers on regularly. That's a very general statement. I used to bring the travellers on. But I liked hearing from them. And they were never scared of coming on. They were suspicious of reporters like me. But when they found out that I wasn't going to do a hatchet job on them, I used to bring them on. And I used to give them shit about driving away from some place that they'd illegally camped and leaving a load of rubbish. I would give them a load of abuse for that. But then we would talk about things that concerned them. I found them very interesting people. I used to get calls from listeners saying, they're dirty bastards and they're leaving the children run around and they're filthy. So what I would do is I would drive to the area where they were supposed to be leaving children running around naked. And the travellers would have no idea that I was coming. And I would often find that the children weren't running around naked and that the caravans were pretty spick and span. And some of the travellers, of course, did have houses in Limerick and in Galway, and expensive houses. Because the travellers used to be called tinkers. Because over the generations, they were good at fixing things. They were also good at stealing stuff out of warehouses and selling it to you in your housing estate very cheap. And I won't criticise the travellers for that, because we used to buy the stuff. They'd turn up and they'd sell you 3 pieces of furniture. I have a nice bit of furniture, madam. They always called women madam. Mrs. Yeah. A nice bit of furniture for you there, no Mrs. I have a nice bit of furniture for you now, 3-piece suite. Did that fall off the back of a lorry? Oh no, of course it didn't. Of course it didn't. Of course you knew it did and you bought it anyway, because it was good stuff. So you were an accessory after the fact. You were guilty of possessing stolen goods. But the police didn't give a shit, really. Do you know? Proper rambling now, this, isn't it? I could be here all day with you. I love this. Jesus. Charles. So anyway, why did I bring up the travellers? Because Richard Littlejohn was a bit of an arse. Writes for the Daily Mail. Remember him years ago interviewing Ike. Do you remember? Years ago he interviewed David on Sky, when he had a programme on Sky. And he became so obnoxious that Ike never ran away from any hostile interview. Littlejohn became so obnoxious, David just got up and said, fuck that, under his breath, and walked away. And Littlejohn said something to him. I think he said, you're as soppy as a box of frogs. And David said, if you had a brain cell in your head, mate, 'twould die of loneliness. I remember that. Walked off a live show. The only time I agreed with anybody walking off a live show. But Littlejohn's got some interesting opinions at times, even though he's an arse. And apparently 1 in 50 prisoners in the UK prison system is identifying as transgender. And 1 in 10 prisoners from the travelling community are identifying as transgender. And this properly made me laugh when I read this morning. This is belly laughs. It's also very serious. It's very serious because it's a very serious protection issue for women. I'm not fucking virtue signaling. You know this. We know. We can't have men getting convicted of crimes saying, oh, I identify as a woman, and then sent to a women's prison. We can't have it. Fuck him. I don't care what you identify as. You're not having it. But apparently 1 in 10 travelling men travellers are, they've always been very smart people, the travellers, very, very clever people. Oh, right, so I can get an easier time now, can I? I can get an easier time in a women's prison, can I? Oh, Jesus. Oh, right. That doesn't sound like any traveller that ever lived, by the way. It's just another one of my fucking useless impressions, isn't it? Oh, can we know? We get an easier time, can we? Oh, right. So they identify as women. 1 in 10 travelling men. Lovely. That's Michael hammering away downstairs. Can you hear Michael? Good bloke, Michael. Oh, unbelievable. He makes a good joke, actually, in the article about a transvestite traveller turning up to offer to tarmac your drive. Basically, he's very sceptical, is Richard Littlejohn. He's sceptical. about whether 1 in 10 travellers behind bars really are trans. They're not. They're trying to exploit this loophole because the government now wants to basically allow people to self-identify. Whatever they want. Okay. Any more comments there? Any more comments? Hayden's got me doing that, Hayden Hewitt. Check out triggerwarning.tv, by the way. Thanks to all the O's or ooh on the messaging on the chat for sending me £2. Thank you so much, mate. That's fantastic. If everybody who listened to the programme would go to PayPal and set up a recurring donation of a couple of pounds a month, we'd be in no danger of ever, I wouldn't have to worry about the cost of the programme every month. So thanks so much for that, mate, Jay. Lovely. A lot of you find it very funny. Cokebell says they were tinsmiths, tinkers. That's right, Cokebell. They were very useful. Anybody who lived in a housing estate, anywhere, because the travellers, of course, they travel in England, they travel in Ireland. But in Ireland, they would come along to our housing estate, Ballybeg, where I grew up. Lovely place to grow up, Ballybeg, lovely place, lovely people, very proud of it. And I went to St. Saviour's National School there, very proud of that as well. And the people I met there shaped me, shaped my thinking. Ballybeg was great. And they would show up to travellers. They weren't just hawking stolen goods around. They were brilliant at doing stuff. And they did a proper job too. It's a joke about the tarmac. If a traveller turns up and says, do you need your tarmac? Do you need your drive tarmacked? I'm telling you, if it does need tarmacking, they will do a good job. They won't do a baked job and piss off and leave you in the lurch. They won't. I know people say they will. They won't. They will not. Because what happens with them is, because of their culture, it's all word of mouth with them. They'll be saying to you, recommend me to your mates, get your mates, if they need a wall built or anything. They're very, very good. They teach the young boys, you see, how to do stuff. I was never taught to do anything, so I can't do anything for myself. That's why I have to hire people to do stuff. The travellers are very useful. Cokebell is right there. Very useful. But yeah, they did deal in stolen goods. Not all of them. But when they turned up with the old three-piece suite, it was nicked. Some warehouse was missing a three-piece suite, basically. But, my mother didn't have very much at all. So if you have a threadbare, completely banjaxed sofa and Simey and Mikey and, Davy turn up with a new three-piece suite, we say, all right, I'll have that. I know. It's not right. Stealing is not right, children. But there you go. Not got much else to tell you today. It's been nearly an hour now. You've wasted an hour listening to my garbage. And I know my Tommy rant at the start has triggered some of you. Look, I want you to have a bit of courage, right? Don't be stupid all the time. Don't think that just because this guy got banged up that it must mean that he's some real threat to the establishment. He fucking isn't. He is the establishment. He plays for the establishment. That's what he does. And you see him winking at people and smiling, of course, because he's only going to be in there for a few weeks. And when he comes out, he'll be able to go back. He won't go back to his £900,000 home. He won't do that. But he'll buy another massive house with the money given to him by the Middle East Forum and the shill that is Ezra Levant and Rebel Media. Come on, people. Wake up to it. Yes. Grooming gangs are real. Yes, they are. Yes, some young Pakistani men are bastards. Oh, they are. I know this because I've got two good friends. They won't come on the show, and I don't blame them because of their jobs. But who are Pakistani lads? And they tell me, yeah, there's a problem, Rich. There is an issue. White women are dirty. They're fallen. They are fallen from grace. They are fucking useless. And you can do what you want to them. Yes. And I've talked about this on my radio show. Yes. But all Muslims? No, not at all. And when Dirty Tommy says hundreds of grooming gangs in every city in the country, no, it's not true. Not Muslim grooming gangs anyway. There is grooming and there is trafficking going on. But you won't hear Tommy the tit talking about Jeffrey Epstein, about Donald Trump, about Bill Clinton. Okay? And this is not whataboutery now. Whataboutery is for the intellectually redundant. It doesn't fucking matter where the grooming is going on. It has to be dealt with. And yes, it's an issue for Pakistanis to deal with, and they have to deal with it. And it is a disgrace that the Home Office was part of that cover-up. Rochdale and Rotherham. We know this. Why do we know this? Because it's chubby. No, because of Maggie Oliver. Real whistleblowers. The wonderful women, social workers, and the girls that came forward and said, yeah, and pushed it until the press picked up on it. Yes. The MP champion. Yes. Yes. Not the exploiter. I could put a t-shirt on me, run around with a megaphone screaming about Muslim grooming gangs. I would have thousands of pounds in my PayPal account within days. Oh yeah. And I can do it better than Tommy the Tit, because I am better than Tommy the Tit. I'm a proper broadcaster. I understand how it works. I could do it. Oh yeah. Make plenty of dosh for me. And I wouldn't have had to find a house to move into, desperately as we did, because of our situation financially. I could have done all that. Could have swallowed the other pill. Gone down that road and tell people what they want to hear. I'll never do that. Never as long as I live. I promise you. Never happened to me. You remember back in the early days of the Richie Allen Show? Do you remember a couple of people wanted to sponsor it? Do you remember? Guy offered me £10,000 a year to sponsor the programme. Do you remember? And I said no. He made it public. I said no. No way. Could have done with it. Yeah, that'll make things easier. No. Produced, edited and introduced by me and influenced by fucking nobody but me. And you. You influence it. You tell me what you want to... You tell me you want a guest on sometimes. You tell me you want me to cover this or cover that. I'll do my best. But no, it's me. And it'll always be me. Nobody will ever influence this programme. I'll take nobody's money. I swear to you. That's my solemn promise. Now, have a fantastic weekend. Look after yourselves and one another. And I'm telling you. Well, you see it now. Give it about 4 hours before somebody tweets or puts on Facebook that this is not a joke, that I really am. By the way, that's very serious. That area of research, symbolism, symbology, occult symbology, Masonic symbology is hugely interesting. And Richard Willett and Neil Sanders and the great late Jim Mars. I miss Jim. I miss Jim Mars. I miss talking to Jim. Jim used to phone me on Skype in the afternoons when he was bored, you know, Jim. Christ, what a man. One of the greatest journalists of all time. Yeah, he'd phone me up on Skype out of the blue, Jim. How's it going there, partner? Fantastic. Great guy. One of the first guys, when I started doing programmes like the Richie Allen Show, one of the first guys I ever interviewed. I'm going to go now. Have a brilliant weekend. And I'll speak with you on Sunday morning for Sunday View. I'm looking forward to that Sunday View. I'm looking forward to the weekend. Now, the cricket is starting at 10:30 on Sunday, the final, right? So maybe Sunday View might come on at 9:30. I don't know. We'll see. I'll keep you posted anyway. Until Sunday, I'll see you soon.